What's up, Royals? I'm Kai. Hope you're doing well, and we got another clutch of double hets on the ground, so stick around. Oh, that rhymed. You're watching Lucas Landon Royals. That's right, Royals. We are going to be making some more double hets. Earlier this season, we made some double het clown hypos, and now we're gonna make some double het desert ghost pies. Exciting stuff. But before I go too far into that, I want to give a shout out to my friends Ryan and Ben. They have their own channel, R&B Reptiles, and they have a podcast channel, Herb House Rock, which they do interviews with this other guy named David. They bring on some really heavy hitters in our reptile industry. A lot of good information. Like I said, it's run by Ryan and Ben, who sent me this awesome shirt. It says eye candy at the top, R&B Reptiles at the bottom. Very colorful. This is probably a candy ball python, which I know is a gene that they work with, is a gene that I work with, so I really like it. And it's set on this black background, which I love black because black is slimming and it makes me look like I lost a few pounds, which is something that I really like. And my shirt actually came scented. Smells like Britney Spears Curious. So I'm wondering between Ryan and Ben, which one of you uses that fragrance? Which is what is even more strange is that I actually know that smell. Anyway, let's move on to the topic of this video, and that is this double het desert ghost pied clutch. The sire is a pastel desert ghost. You've seen this guy before. Very beautiful. And the female, let's take a look at her right now. So here's the mom. She is a straight up pied. Nothing else, just a straight up pied and a very nice defensive mom. Oop. All right, so let me get the camera set up and we'll take her off those eggs. All right, so here she is. She's staring at my hand. Now she's not. Now she's staring at the other hand. All right, hope you guys can see. So, she looks like she has a pretty big pile of eggs. I might need 2 egg boxes, but we'll see how it goes. Just get her off the eggs first. Oh, she doesn't want to. Where's the tail? Oh, she's releasing them. Okay, cool. Let me get her into a tub of water and I'll be right back to address the eggs. Okay, so she gave us 9 eggs last season. Wow, this one was just laid. You can see it's still wet and it's still a little pink. So this will take probably half an hour or so, maybe even less, to harden up a little bit to get that leathery texture that you typically would get from an egg. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel these apart. Again, the reason I do this, and I say this on a lot of my egg pulling videos, is because I have a low profile egg box and I don't want these eggs to touch the lid or the sides. Also, keeping them apart, or pulling them apart before I put them into the egg box allows me to also take them out if one happens to get moldy. You just have to be very careful pulling them apart because they can rip. And if they do tear, don't worry. A little tape or even a small band-aid will actually help to seal it back up. You just want to roll it back and forth. Try to get it from all directions, not just one direction. And I have a rough idea of which way is up, but I'm going to candle these anyway. So candling is just using a flashlight or some kind of light source that's bright enough to shine into the egg. And what you'll notice, what you should notice, is a network of veins, blood vessels. That's a sign of a fertile egg. And you can also look for a little circle, which is the embryo. And once you find the embryo,
you'll see that I will then mark it with a pen so I know which way is up. That one's got a little window. We call it a window because it's kind of semi-transparent. If this was bigger, you can probably see inside, but that one is really small and it's not very transparent, so it's hard to see. But sometimes you get one that almost looks like a window. This one looks kind of like a window. You can see right there inside, you can kind of see the redness, so maybe there's something in there. All right, so let me turn out the light. We'll get a flashlight and a pen and check these. Okay, so let's see. This is the one that's kind of wet. We'll check this one first. You can see that dot right there, right? You can see that dot kind of wiggling. So that's the embryo, and what you probably can't see is the circle around it, but that's a good indication of a healthy egg. So I'm going to mark that. So this one, you can see this side, no veins, no vessels. This side, we got the circle, and we have the embryo. Most of these were actually in the right position, but you can see a couple of them. This was actually laying on the cocoa, so that side was down, but the embryo is actually here. That means that this was the side up when the mom coiled around it, which I don't think is a big problem. When they're just laid, I've heard that the embryo can actually shift position, so maybe it will, rise to the top itself. But since I candled it, I am going to push this side up. Same thing with the one over here. You can see that the cocoa was on this side. This was a side down, and the embryo is actually over here. So I'm going to get these cleaned up. I'm going to wipe this down with some paper towel and water, and I'm going to let this one dry up a little bit and harden up a little bit because it's still a little bit wet. So if I mark it, it's just gonna, my pen kind of just spreads the ink out, so I don't want to do that. So I'm going to let that one dry a little bit, then I'll candle that one. I'll get all of these into the egg box and I'll show you what that looks like. So let me just quickly show you what I have going on. We got 9 eggs. We got 4 here and 5 here. That's the one that was most recently laid. You can still see it's a little bit pink, but it's dry enough for the ink to not run. I should probably get different pens, but this still works. Couple of these, like I said, this one and this one were the ones that were in the wrong orientation, but I just tried my best to put them in the correct orientation. This one in particular was actually at an angle. It wasn't sitting horizontally, it wasn't sitting vertically, it was actually kind of at an angle. So I have it propped up against a couple of the other eggs, and then a couple straws pin it down so that it doesn't roll. These are all pinned down so they don't roll. And I think what's going to happen in the incubator, and this has happened before, even I have it propped up like this, it doesn't stay like this because the egg is going to shrink as it develops. Most likely it'll shrink. Sometimes it'll stay the same, but if this shrinks, if this shrinks, if this shrinks, obviously they're not going to be snug against each other anymore, and then that's going to kind of tilt down. So that's something that I have to pay attention to. But yeah, the reason there's a cluster of 5 and a cluster of 4 is because I want to make sure I leave some room in between. I said this in one of my previous videos, or a couple of my previous videos, is that the eggs themselves will generate heat. So if your incubator is set at, let's say, 90 degrees or 89 degrees, whatever it's set at, the egg box will actually be warmer. If you put a thermometer in here, a probe in here, you'll notice that in the beginning, it'll read about the same temperature as the rest of the incubator. When you get further along into development, the heat inside will start to get a little bit higher. So I don't want to run the chance of the eggs in the middle cooking itself, because obviously the eggs around the sides will probably be able to, what do we call it? Toss away the heat, but the ones in the middle are kind of forced. So I've actually had sometimes where 1 or 2 of the eggs in the middle would mold, or the babies would not be perfect when it comes out. So I want to make sure I put enough space, and then these are going to go into the incubator, and hopefully in about 55 to 60 days they should hatch.
So the results of this clutch from a visual standpoint is not going to be that impressive. All we're dealing with is one codom in the mix, which is a pastel, and that's from the dad. But they're all going to be double hets for Desert Ghost and Pied, and that's going to be very powerful, and that's a stepping stone for me in producing the visual Desert Ghost Pieds, and that's going to be a long project. But those animals are really, really impressive, so that's what I'm shooting for. So that about wraps it up for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new to this channel and you want to be informed of future uploads, make sure you're subscribed and ring that notification bell. As always, thanks for watching. Please share, and remember, Royals for life. Peace out, guys.